Hey friends, welcome back to Dailey Sews and Stuff. I'm Brandon Dailey, and today we are looking at the new software for Projector sewists by Projector sewists called Pattern Projector. Now this is a web-based program that's going to allow you to calibrate your projector and project a properly calibrated image without having to physically move your projector at all. It is very similar to the previous software that I've spoken about called Project and Cut. However, there are some differences in the way that it's calibrated and just in the way that it exists in software form. You can also catch the interview I did with Courtney, who designed this software, as well as all the other videos I've done about calibrating your projector on my YouTube channel. To find patternprojector.com, we go to patternprojector.com. When you arrive, you get this instruction that is a very quick overview of what's going on. Down here, there is a link to buy a coffee for the person who created this. Because this is a free software, this is the only way that she gets any sort of reimbursement. You can also help fix things on GitHub or whatever else. You can help translate. She's welcome to feedback and requests, and her contact is right here. You can click on this button to see the GitHub, if that's important to you, or you can click on this button to begin calibrating. Now this takes you to this screen. And on this screen, you've got these 4 differently colored corners and this grid in the middle. And so this, we just click on it and move it around, or we can use the arrow keys on the keyboard to move it around. If you hit tab, it goes to the next one. Tab, again, goes in a circle around to this next one. And we're going clockwise around, hitting tab, or you can always just click it, drag it. Once you get that correct, then you are going to type in the size of your square. You can also enter full screen. This little arrow gives you access to these things, or you can push that X or hit escape to go back to here. Once you have this calibrated, you can click you can click this button to take you back here. But once you've got this calibrated, you click the project button, and then you open a PDF. Once you have opened, you will be able to move around your file. You've also got right here layers that you can turn on and off. You can hide layer menu or show it. You can turn that grid, calibration grid, on and off. You can invert colors. You can flip horizontally, vertically, and you can rotate. Now, when you rotate, you do tend to lose it, and then you have to come and find it, which I find a little bit annoying. But that's a small annoyance. And you can also recenter, so if you do turn it and lose it, you can recenter it. And if it's multi-pages, you've got pages that you can scroll through up here, or you can go back to the calibration. So that was a super quick overview. Now let's see it in action. If you've seen my previous video about Project and Cut, then this setup is going to look extremely similar. I've set my old 455 on the floor. It is sitting there. It is not square to the mat. It is not level on the floor. It has one of those bubbles on the bottom that keeps it from sitting levelly. It is just sort of propped there. You can tell by the angle of the light right here, especially compared to the straightness of my mat, that it is not properly aligned at all. And now we're going to use that and not touch the projector and calibrate this setup so that I can project a pattern. So it's very similar to what we've done before. We're going to grab this corner. This one is purple, and we're going to pull it to, I can't quite get it to the corner of my mat because of the thing. So I can actually hit this button to go full screen, I believe. Oh, this button to go full screen. There we go. I can hit that button to go full screen, and that will allow me to go all the way to this corner. All right. So I can get that pretty close to that corner, and then I'm going to grab the next corner. And right now I am using my mouse. I'm just clicking and dragging the way you do anything else. Also, I want to point out, you can see here, this is my projected image, and then down there in the corner you can see the computer, and you can see, hopefully a little bit easier, the clicking and the dragging, but also it highlights the difference between the way it looks on the projected image versus the computer. Okay, grabbing this green one, pulling it down, and now I'm going to sort of do the same thing, but I'm going to start with this purple corner and just use my keyboard and get things lined up a little bit closer. Okay, hit tab to the, what is that, blue? And get that one lined up. Okay, hit tab. It's going to go to the green one. Get that one lined up. And another tab is going to go to the red one. And we're going to get that one lined up. Okay, I feel like that's pretty close. So now I need to push this little down arrow to access this right here. And we're going to tell it that this is 36 inches wide. Oops, I did that backwards, didn't I? Let's go back. That's H for height. It is 24 inches tall by 36 inches wide, and that's on inches, so we're good. We don't want to throw it away. And I'm not ready to project yet. I'm going to go back to the full screen so we can see. Oh, I was full screen. Oh, that's what I'm just going to move the thing away. Okay, now we should see the full thing. And now we can kind of double check, make sure that lines are lining up and that we are in alignment. Editing Brandolyn is back to say that when I was recording this, I accidentally typed 26 in the width instead of 36. And I didn't realize it for a little while. And I went on about this little spiel about how we are looking for finished better than perfect. And I kind of do some readjusting and finally realized that it's because I stupidly forgot to put a 3 rather than a 2 at the top. And so that's fixed. And you'll see in a minute whenever I realize it and fix it. But even though I just cut out this whole interim of stuff that's no longer important, some of it still sort of is important to say, so I just want to say it. I don't love the grid that is used for calibration in this program, which was Pattern Projector and is now MatShine. So I don't love it. And the reason I don't love it is because it makes it really easy to focus on too small of a possible issue. It's the reason that at the very beginning of all of this, the calibration grid we used at Projectors for Sewing was a grid, and then it got changed to the squares and rectangles we use now. The squares and rectangles is actually so much easier to use because it lets you know when you're close enough versus the very tiny squares in this grid that can get kind of confusing. And it can look like a much bigger problem than it actually is with this grid. So I don't love that. And I do also find it really hard to see projected or even on my screen if it's duplicated because I have to walk close enough to my screen to see it. So I do find this a little bit harder to use for those two reasons. But it works. You just have to finagle those things a little bit. So it's important to realize, especially with this little bitty grid, that you are looking for close enough, not perfection, and that you could spend all day adjusting and fussing, but it's not really going to make that big of a difference in the end. So if your lines are just a teensy bit off, adjust the most that you can, the best that you can. Make sure you've typed the right numbers like I do, but don't fuss about a little bitty bit. Basically the thing is that you still need to have a flat surface to work on, and if it's a little bit not flat, then you're going to have a little bit of a problem, and it's okay. You can just go ahead and work within that parameter, just like we've always done. I also am going to make sure I did type the correct numbers up here. 24 tall. Oh, no, by 36 wide. That might help. Hey, would you look at that? It lines up almost perfectly. Okay. Yes, whenever you type in the correct numbers, it really works out well. Now, you can see it's still not 100% perfect, but this is that over 99% accuracy that we are looking for. I am going to go ahead and throw the calibration square onto here. So when you were here in Calibrate, you click Project, and you get here. I'm going to open a PDF. Okay, so I am opening this PDF, and this is the calibration thing that we do. So it's already on invert in one way. I don't even know how to describe this. So this is the normal way that it looks. You click this again, and it just inverts it black and the inverse color. You click it again, and it gives you all green. So depending on your pattern, one way or another might be easier to see. We can go ahead and make that full screen again. And then as I move this over here, you can see that that lines up beautifully. Now, I am clicking my arrow buttons, and nothing is happening. You cannot move this pattern around with your arrows on your mouse. You must move it around by clicking and dragging. Okay, here's a pattern I've done, and I had already inverted the colors on this, so I want to turn the inversion off to see this on here. Here's a pretty dramatic representation of how this whole thing works. Let me center this a tiny bit better. And we can see that this 20 by 30 rectangle here fits pretty close. It's hard to get it exact because I have to do it with the mouse. But it's making a rectangle here, and it's going from 1 to 21 and from 2 to 32. So it is a 20 by 30 rectangle. It's beautiful. The corners are square. It's lining up really, really well. But if you can barely see where that light comes like this, the light of my projector is, in fact, let me try to invert this for us so we can see the light of the projector. There we go. Okay, so the light of the projector is still funky right there, and a little bit at the top and a little bit on the side. But it's and definitely at the bottom. I'm not sure how much you can see. This whole half of my light, the projected image, is bigger than that half. It just is. It's tilted this way. What should mean that rectangle should not fit in to a rectangle. It should also be tilted this way. But we've compensated for that over here on the computer. Look at the little computer square in the bottom. You can see the little computer square at the bottom. He's looking funky. He doesn't look like a rectangle, even though he is, because it compensates for the projector. And now over here on the projected image, we've got a perfect rectangle. It's that same projection mapping thing. It's beautiful, and it works great. Okay, now if you notice when I drug my mouse over the top of this writing, 20 by 30 popped up, which is smaller than my writing. But in certain cases, when that will be, oh, by the way, the wheel right here, that does not work either. You've got to click and drag. In certain cases, though, where it might be difficult to read, that makes it easier. So that says grain, which is hard to read. That says high hip, but that was hard to read until we scrolled over it. Now that is helping more on the computer screen than maybe on this, but it is helping somewhat. This is a pattern I have made for myself right there. Front bodice, cut 1. That's a pretty handy little little thing right there. And some of those, it's really, really making it show a lot better. All right, so that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a ton to say about this that's very different from project and cut in the functionality of projecting a pattern. It is a little different in the calibration. And it's different in the way that the program is designed and implemented. But for you using it, that doesn't make as big of a difference. Now, I will do a video that shows attempting to use this with an iPad wirelessly. I will do a video that compares Project and Cut with Pattern Projector. And we can talk about in which instances you might want one or the other. But as far as showing you how Pattern Projector works, I believe that there's not much else I can show you. Editing Brandon is back. It's a little later. My hair is a little drier. And this is also coincidentally the third time I've recorded this because I keep doing it wrong and forgetting to actually hit record or have audio. So let's try again, shall we? Okay. So I said very confidently, that's all I can show you. I was wrong. Improvements have already been made. Now, remember, this is a free open source software, so improvements are always being made and things are always being added. And what I'm fixing to show you is really cool, but I've also found a few buggy things that don't work great. So let's look at it. The calibration part hasn't really changed, but if we look at the projector part, some stuff has changed. Let's open a PDF. I'm going to start by showing you this because it's pretty cool. I'm going to scroll, and it kind of shows you both things. So first of all, you can see there are layers as an option now. And as of recording this video, Project and Cut just added that as well. So that's not unique to Pattern Projector, but it is super handy. All right, so what is unique at the time of recording to Pattern Projector is this bit. So, and we actually heard Courtney talk about this when she came on the channel. We are going to do a visual stitching of this pattern. So this pattern, or these instructions end on page 12. So the pattern starts on page 13. I'm going to do that. And then through the fact that I've done this twice before already, I know if I change that column to 1, we'll actually be able to see this. Oops. Well, this is not right. 13 through 16. How about that? Okay. Okay, so now we can see this pattern and its glory here, but it is not stitched together. So to get it stitched together, I can see this is an A, this is an A, this is an A, then we switch to B. Okay, so because of the way I know Patterns for Pirates patterns, I know that means I'm going to have, oops, that's the wrong button. I know I'm going to have 2 columns, 2 rows, okay? So now this is correct. All these puzzle pieces are in the correct place, but they're not put together yet. So this is where this really cool thing comes in. You up the horizontal until those all line up, and I can go too far and then bring it back, optimized. That is a quote from Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. And then I can do the same thing vertically. Oop, again. There we go. All right. So that is now put back together, or put together exactly the right way. It's great. Okay. We can also play, and I can hide this too if I want to now. We can also play with the layers. So let's turn them all off. And then let's bring in that layer and the all sizes layer and the preemie layer. Cool. Let's say this is hard to see on my projection. I can up the line weight, which is awesome. It also automatically turns it black when you do that, which you can then invert, which would be a little bit easier to see. But it does not change it to a solid line, which I find more helpful than changing the color. And especially because I cut on a lot of black. Although, again, in that case, you can invert it and fix that problem. I've also noticed on this pattern, if you add another layer in, it does not show if you have adjusted the line weight. But if you put it back to normal, it does, which makes grading rather impossible. However, I have done this on some other patterns and it works with 2 layers. So it may depend on how the designer creates the pattern. Not really sure how that works. This is all I've got for the improvements that have already happened as of recording. But again, this is an open source software that is constantly changing and evolving. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in. I hope that this helped you understand Pattern Projector a little bit better and that you are able to use it now to project your patterns. Remember, it is already available. It is free, open source software. And if you are the techie kind of person who is able to help with that, Courtney would love some help to further improve this software. Find the links in the description box to this program, to the interview I did with Courtney, to all of her links and all of those things. I appreciate you guys. I look forward to doing a comparison between Pattern Projector and Project & Cut, and I really look forward to seeing how this amazing advancement of these 2 softwares is going to change the pattern projecting world. I feel like we are just seriously on such a cusp of a revolution again with this amazing software. So thank you to all the designers and the smarty pants who are working behind the scenes to make all of these amazing softwares work for us. And thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting, sharing, liking, all the things. I will see you next time. Bye, friends.
Keep watching my videos, rate, subscribe, and comment.